Welcome to My Life's Reward. This is Scott, and thanks for stopping by the channel and checking this video out. This is a follow-up to my last video on the Big Bear Trail where my ATV stopped working about, I think it was 11 miles into the trail, and it had some trouble before even it quit for good there. So what I'm about ready to explain is, what you'll see here is you'll see some video of the different problems with the engine on the trail. I am going to explain what we did to try to fix it, not only on the trail, but at our campsite cabin area the day after, and then ultimately taking it to get serviced. And then the service experience, the actual service experience. So what you're watching now is the most recent video of the problems encountered on the Big Bear Trail. The link for this video is in the description and available on my channel library. So if you want to watch the whole Big Bear Trail ride, just check that out there. There are additional examples of problems in the same ride, perhaps 2 other times, where there was a loss of power and the engine was starving for something, though it did not result in any outright engine stop, other than the 2 times it actually stopped on the trail twice, and for the last time we couldn't get it restarted. In late 2022, I experienced a similar engine issue on the Gladwin South Loop. It sputtered a couple of times. I thought, geez, I might be walking. I was at the farthest point on that trail, on that South Loop of the Gladwin Loop. I thought I was going to be walking. Then in early 2023, while I was using my ATV around the house, it just wouldn't start up. The customary noise after turning the key on wasn't there, where you'd hear the fuel pump, and then once it pressured up, it would stop. That wasn't making that noise at all, so I immediately suspected the fuel pump. I ordered an aftermarket fuel pump, installed it, tried to start it, and it didn't start. Kyle, my son, thought, well, maybe there's electrical issues, so we looked at the fuse areas, and we started moving things around, and not really moving things around, but moving different of the same size fuses around, making sure we had a good fuse, and it just started working. And because of that, I really believed it was some sort of an electrical connection issue, and that we were getting intermittent problems with that. At the beginning of the Big Bear Trail ride, it started right up. But after I turned it off, because I needed to set up my camera and some other things, I couldn't get it restarted. Jim, my riding partner, we went into the fuse area and we started messing around, and then it started right up. Again, this reinforcing the whole electrical connection issue. We especially focused on the fuses that were related to the EFI, or the electronic fuel injection. We did notice in the EFI fuse that the blade of the fuse that was going into the socket part was spread pretty wide, so we didn't think it was making a good connection. The fuse was actually very loose in there. We did our best to tighten that receiving blade socket up a little bit. When it did fail later on the trail, it failed once, and I just came to a rolling stop, as you saw in the video, and it started right back up again. But the second time it failed, where the engine just stopped, could not get it restarted again. And we went and messed around with the fuses, no luck. And then we went into removed the seat and went into the air cleaner and found a big old mouse nest in there made of fiberglass insulation. Thinking, well, maybe this is causing the ability of lack of air flow into the engine. We removed all that fiberglass insulation from around the air cleaner, but that still didn't help. It didn't allow the engine to run at all. So both Jim and I agreed it's time to start towing the Polaris ATV back to the trailer, and that's what we did. The next day, we were able to start the engine by putting fuel in where the air cleaner is, and the engine started right up, but it only run as long as it had that fuel, and then as soon as it ran out, the engine would stop. So that sort of suggested us that we had some sort of a fuel flow issue. We did confirm that fuel was actually being delivered by the tank, and there was fuel flow there. And just to be safe, we did replace the spark plug. And then thinking maybe we had some sort of a fuel injector issue, we replaced the fuel injector, but neither one of those replacements resulted in an engine running consistently for us. We spent some additional time around the fuse block area making sure those blade connectors on those fuses were tight. We removed the little rivet pins and I went to the underside of the fuse block and made sure those connectors coming back in were all nice and secure, but none of that did anything for us as far as making progress. So after spending about a day on this repair scenario and making lots of trips to the auto parts store, trying different things, we did give up, and I started reaching out to the different service options, the service shop options. My first move was to reach out to the place that I bought the ATV from. And I did have to wait on hold a little bit, and then I got dropped off the call. This is kind of annoying. I called back and I got connected up pretty quickly, pretty much right away. The person that I talked to, the service rep, was a bit curt. I explained my situation, I explained what we did, what was happening. He didn't really seem to care too much. I just asked him, when is this next service window? And he said mid-July. And he just didn't really seem to have any compassion, or he tried to make me feel like a valued customer at all. After pointing out to him that I did buy the ATV from their place there, does that change anything? Is there a different kind of service window for customers that actually buy their equipment from there? And he said no. So with that, knowing that the next service date was mid-July, I just ended the call for the time being and was trying to think of some other options. The mid-June date provided would have been about 33 calendar days before service would even begin, based on that timeline. Next, I reached out to Spicer's Boat City in Houghton Lake, Michigan. I was promptly connected to service all within the first minute. The service rep was professional. When I asked for a service date window, the response was July 1st. So on June 9th, I trailered the ATV from our cabin that we were staying at near Frederick down to Houghton Lake and went to Spicer's Boat City. And upon my arrival, I was promptly recognized in the service area. All my information was gathered, recorded. The service rep took the time to ask questions, take what we experienced as symptoms, what we worked on, and put all of that and documented that in the actual ticket form. And then the service rep went out to the ATV to get the VIN or serial number, and then went back to the desk, printed out the service ticket for me. And I would say in total time, it was about 15 minutes or less of total time there. The service rep said that after they brought it in for diagnostics, that they'd give me a call to let me know before ordering any parts or committing to any work. On June 14th, I received a call from Spicer's. They had diagnosed the problem and were seeking my permission to pursue a parts order. They had tested the fuel pump and was pumping at 1 psi. The service rep explained that a fuel pump could be ordered and the cost of the part and service would be $50. They recognized that I had an extended warranty on the ATV, something that the place I purchased it from never did for me on the 3 different service events that I had with them. The service rep said they would call me once the parts were received, installed, and they confirmed that the unit was operating properly. On June 23rd, I received a call from Spicer's letting me know the ATV had been repaired and was fully operational. The cost was confirmed at $50. I traveled to Houghton Lake on June 25th. Again, the pickup of the unit was equally speedy, taking less than 10 minutes. I was immediately recognized upon entering the door, and after making the $50 payment, the ATV was already placed on my trailer. So from the time that I reached out to Spicers, the entire service experience took exactly 14 days. Talk about under-promising and over-delivering, managing my service expectations. They did a great job at that. So recently, after my experience at Spicers, I visited the place where I purchased my ATV. I asked if they had any Can-Am 850 Outlanders in stock. And you're probably like, what are you doing? Why are you pursuing a sale at this place? Well, there's a reason, and I'm going to make a point here. The sales rep quickly looked up inventory and described 2 units that were available in 2 different colors. I asked him if he could write the prices down. He did so on his business card, and he gave it to me. And then I asked him, hey, would you have a few minutes I could sit down and talk to you and tell you a story here? And he said, gladly, I'd gladly listen. Okay. I explained and contrasted the service contact experience that I had just had experience of earlier in June. I mentioned that I had purchased my ATV at this place, and I thought that there should be some sort of support considerations for that if you purchase service after the sale type of thing. But ultimately I was building up to a question, and my question was, why should I buy this new ATV quoted from this company instead of where I was just treated like a valued customer? Well, he hesitated, he thought about it, not for very long, a few seconds. His response was, well, since COVID, we've had a hard time keeping service techs or enough service techs employed. And I did point out, I don't agree with that answer because I had similar experiences pre-COVID on 3 other occasions. So that doesn't work. Well, we also have to pull these service techs to help assemble units that are sold. I was like, did I just hear what I thought I just heard? You're pulling service people in favor of sales, and you're letting your customers down that have already bought from you. You are prioritizing this over service. This is backwards to me. I mean, first of all, I think you should do both. I think you should be able to sell stuff and move product, but you should also stand behind your sales and service things at a reasonable timeline and a reasonable turnaround. So that leads me into my next section here. You want to be treated as a valued customer after the sale, and in your support, you do want to feel satisfied. You want quality support. You want to be able to use their resources to do maintenance if either you don't want to do that or you don't have the ability to do that. And you want to contact them for advice on maybe how to handle certain situations. And that's all important when you're buying things that cost a lot of money. And let's face it, an ATV nowadays costs close to $10,000 if you buy new. And so that's a lot of money. And when you have those things, you develop customer loyalty. And to the business, or to the company, that customer loyalty means you'll be back to buy that next ATV, or if you want a boat or a trailer and they happen to sell those things, you have a tendency to go to a place that does good business. Not only on the sales side, but on the service side. So I've learned that piece over the years from 2018 until my most recent service experience. And I can't really justify to myself returning back to the place that I bought my first quad to buying my second quad. Rather, I'm going to go to the place that treated me the best. And in this case, I believe my next quad purchase will be from Spicers Boat City. And that's where I'll leave it. So with that, I want to thank you for stopping by the channel, watching this video. And until next week, take care.